Look closely at this data chart. On paper, this single isolated dot represents a player who is completely breaking the sport, therefore casual fans think they are witnessing an absolute footballing genius. But in reality, this graph isn't tracking legendary greatness. It is exposing a structural illusion. This single dot is a masterclass in stat padding, completely detached from the world's most elite playmakers like Lionel Messi, Luka Modric, and Mesut Ozil. We live in an era where modern football is entirely driven by data. Therefore, millions of fans use numbers to judge who is world-class, but they are totally blind to how these metrics are being manipulated. Modern statistics don't just measure performance. They actively create lies, weaponize illusions, and mask structural failures on the pitch. You think data tells the objective truth about your favorite players, but the charts are actively lying to you. This is how 10 football statistics that fans use are completely wrong, the broken metrics that scam clubs into wasting millions on transfer fees, and the detailed reality of how the numbers are tricking your mind. To truly understand how deep this deception runs, we have to look at the single most popular antagonist in modern football media, expected goals or XG. To a casual fan, XG is treated like the ultimate mathematical holy grail. The formula calculates the quality of a shot based on historical data, distance, and defender positioning, therefore giving a percentage chance of whether that shot should be a goal. If a player takes a shot from the penalty spot, the matrix says it has an XG value of 0.76. If they score it, they performed as expected. But if they miss, the data model flags it as a failure. This metric was designed to give clarity to data analysts, but when weaponized by fans, it turns into a complete historical farce. The structural flaw of XG is that it treats every single human being on the pitch exactly the same. The algorithm assumes that a chance falling to a low-tier defender in the final minute of a match is completely identical to that exact same chance falling to a clinical icon like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. Therefore, the chart completely strips away the sports science of elite finishing, muscle memory, and psychological pressure under the floodlights. Look at how this illusion completely sabotages our understanding of elite, instinctive goal scorers. Think of a lethal, cold-blooded finisher like Son Heung-min during his peak seasons under managers like Jose Mourinho or Antonio Conte. Year after year, the mathematical data models predicted that Son's goal-scoring output would drastically collapse. Why? Because according to the rigid parameters of XG charts, Son continually scored spectacular goals from completely impossible angles and distances, pockets of space with a statistical XG value of just 0.03. The data models screamed that his performance was an unsustainable statistical anomaly. They claimed he was just getting lucky, but they completely missed the missing puzzle piece. Son wasn't getting lucky. He was simply a highly trained, elite biological outlier who possessed finishing mechanics that the code could not calculate. Therefore, the chart spent half a decade branding a world-class finisher as a mathematical fluke. But the deception gets even worse when you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, the art of the modern stat pattern. Because XG rewards players simply for accumulating high-value shots inside the penalty box, an inefficient striker can completely manipulate the data ledger. Forward can spend 90 minutes standing idly in the 6-yard box, completely failing to press, completely failing to link up play, and completely ruining the tactical rhythm of his manager's system. But if they tap in 3 separate low-stress balls generated entirely by the brilliant tactical work of their wingers, their XG chart looks magnificent. The numbers tell the boardroom that this striker is an indispensable asset, but the reality on the pitch is that the striker is a passenger. The stat completely masks their laziness, therefore tricking elite sporting directors into paying massive multi-million-dollar transfer fees for a mathematical illusion. We are taught to trust the data, but when it comes to judging the soul of a true finisher, the XG chart is actively lying to your face. If you think the attack is the only place numbers lie, you are completely ignoring the most overrated metric in midfield history. Passing accuracy percentage. Every weekend, graphics flash across television screens showing a holding midfielder completing 96% of their passes. Commentators rave about their composure, and fans brand them as the next digital reincarnation of Xavi Hernandez or Andrea Pirlo. But this chart is a complete psychological trap. The system rewards cowardice and severely punishes creative genius. To maintain a 96% passing accuracy over an entire season, a player cannot take risks. They receive the ball from their center backs, look forward, see a tight window to feed an attacking midfielder, but instead of trying the difficult pass, they play it sideways or backward. It is completely safe, therefore the algorithm records a successful completion. They are padding their own data ledger while completely killing the speed of the attack. Now, compare that to a high-risk creative visionary like Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes, or Trent Alexander-Arnold. These players often finish matches with a passing accuracy of just 70 or 75%. To a casual fan looking at a raw stat sheet, it looks like a disaster, but the context tells a completely different story. A player like De Bruyne is actively hunting for the low-probability, high-reward killer pass that slices through an entire low-block defense. Out of 10 attempts, 7 will be intercepted by elite defenders. But the 3 that get through result in direct match-winning goals. The chart tells you that De Bruyne wasted 25% of his team's possession, but the reality is that those missed attempts were the necessary tax required to break open a tactical lock. When a rigid possession manager rewards safe sideways passing over creative risk, the team's style becomes incredibly boring and predictable. The passing percentage chart says the midfield is operating perfectly, but the scoreboard says 0-0. It is a metric that actively celebrates a lack of ambition. This brings us to the defensive side of the pitch, where numbers are routinely used to completely ruin the reputations of world-class goalkeepers and center-backs. The clean sheet statistic. To the average fan, a clean sheet is treated as a direct personal achievement for the goalkeeper. If a team concedes 3 goals, the keeper gets slated on social media. But attributing a clean sheet entirely to the man between the sticks is like praising the roof of a house for stopping the rain, while completely ignoring the fact that the walls have completely collapsed. A clean sheet is a systematic collective triumph. When a manager like Pep Guardiola or Mikel Arteta sets up an elite, high-pressing defensive structure, the opposing team is choked in their own half. They can barely string 3 passes together, therefore they never manage to take a single clear shot on target all game. The goalkeeper spends 90 minutes leaning against the post, barely getting his gloves dirty, but at the final whistle, he walks away with a clean sheet added to his individual profile. Meanwhile, imagine a world-class goalkeeper playing behind a chaotic, unorganized defensive line. Across 90 grueling minutes, his defenders turn over the ball constantly, therefore forcing him to face an unprecedented 15 shots inside his own box. He executes 8 miraculous superhuman saves, parrying deflections and tipping rockets over the crossbar. But in the 92nd minute, his defense completely falls asleep on a corner, allowing a completely unmarked striker to tap the ball in from 2 yards out. The match ends 1-0. The goalkeeper loses his clean sheet, but he was the best player on the pitch. The metric brands his performance as a failure on paper, therefore masking the absolute tactical incompetence of the coaches and defenders in front of him. When a club judges a goalkeeper's value solely on clean sheets, they aren't scouting individual talent, they are simply measuring how good the rest of the team is. The 4th major antagonist in the football data war is the distance covered metric. During heavy tournament schedules, sports networks love to show charts displaying which players ran 12 or 13 kilometers across a match. The immediate expectation built in the viewer's mind is that high running numbers equate to high work rate, elite fitness, and tactical dedication. But in the world of elite sports science, high-distance numbers are very often a direct symptom of tactical stupidity, as the legendary Johan Cruyff famously muttered, "If you have to make a recovery tackle, it means you previously made a mistake." The same rule applies to running. Think of an elite, positionally flawless master like Sergio Busquets or Claude Makelele during their prime. These players rarely looked like they were sprinting frantically across the grass. Why? Because their spatial awareness and reading of the game allowed them to position themselves 2 steps ahead of the play. They intercepted the ball effortlessly without ever needing to break into a desperate lung-busting run. They covered less distance, but they controlled the entire pitch. Now look at the opposite scenario. An undisciplined, chaotic midfielder constantly loses his defensive marker, gets dragged out of position by a simple passing triangle, therefore forcing himself to sprint 40 yards backward to cover his own mistake. He does this 10 times a match, but because he is constantly running in circles to put out fires he created, his total distance covered chart looks massive at the final whistle. The television graphic praises his incredible work rate, but his manager knows the truth. He ran 12 kilometers simply because he didn't know where to stand. The stat completely frames a positional nightmare as a physical triumph, therefore tricking casual fans into believing that running hard is exactly the same as playing smart. Next major deception centers around the ultimate playmaker metric, the assist. Fans use assists as the absolute baseline to debate who the greatest creative force in the world is. If an attacking midfielder finishes a domestic campaign with 15 assists, they are hailed as an elite maestro. But the fatal flaw of the assist stat is that it is completely dependent on the competence of another human being. It doesn't actually measure the quality of the pass, it only measures the quality of the final shot. Imagine a playmaker who executes an impossible trivela pass through a cluster of 5 defenders, putting his striker perfectly through on goal with an open net. It is a moment of pure genius, but the striker completely skews the shot wide of the post. Because the striker failed, the playmaker receives 0 reward on the stat sheet. The pass is completely forgotten by history, therefore erasing a masterclass from the data ledger. Now flip the scenario. A midfielder plays a simple 5-yard sideways pass to his winger in his own half. The winger takes the ball, embarks on a spectacular 60-yard solo run, skips past 4 elite defenders, and blasts a rocket into the top corner from outside the box. Because the winger scored, the midfielder is legally awarded a direct assist on the official match report. The stat sheet treats that simple 5-yard ball as identical to an elite defense-splitting pass, but it required zero creative vision. The metric shifts the credit to the wrong person, therefore creating a massive distortion in player valuation. If a scouting department relies heavily on basic assist numbers, they risk spending €80 million on a player whose stats were completely padded by the world-class brilliance of his teammates. But we have outliers like Lionel Messi and Kevin De Bruyne, with high assist stats, and their assist percentage doesn't even show how creative they are. The sixth major deception on our list is a metric that drives social media highlight packages completely crazy. Dribbles completed. Every week, fans share graphical data sheets showing a dazzling winger completing 7 or 8 dribbles a game. The automatic expectation built in the casual mind is that this player is a devastating attacking threat, a direct modern reincarnation of Ronaldinho or Eden Hazard. But this chart completely hides an ugly tactical reality. The system measures the action of beating a man, but it completely ignores the direction and utility of the movement. To maintain a massive completed dribble statistic, a flashy winger often picks up the ball on the halfway line, faces a fullback and performs 3 stepovers to cut past him. But instead of driving forward into the open box, they pause, turn back around, and dribble past the exact same defender a second time just to retain the ball. It looks incredible on a TikTok edit, therefore the data tracker registers 2 successful dribbles, but look at the consequence. While the winger was busy playing with his foot on the touchline, the opposing center backs had ample time to sprint back, lock down the penalty area, and completely reset their defensive low block. The winger padded his individual chart, but he completely killed his team's counterattack. When a club spends $80 million on a winger based purely on raw dribbling charts, they often realize too late that they didn't buy a lethal attacker. They bought a freestyle entertainer who stalls the entire team's progression. But again, we have outliers like Lionel Messi and Hazard, where they always dribble towards the goal. This brings us to a metric that is routinely weaponized to attack elite high-volume strikers: shot conversion percentage. To the average fan, this metric is basic math. If a striker takes 50 shots over a season and scores 10 goals, their conversion rate is 20%. If another striker takes 30 shots and scores 10 goals, their conversion rate is 33%. Therefore, casual fans instantly declare the second striker as the far more clinical, superior finisher. But this chart is a complete mathematical illusion that actively punishes players who possess world-class movement. An elite intelligent striker like Erling Haaland or Robert Lewandowski survives by making constant, aggressive runs into the box. Because their movement is so elite, they find themselves on the end of 10 difficult half-chance opportunities every single game. They attempt difficult volleys under physical pressure, or stretch their boot to touch a flying cross. Many of these low-probability attempts miss the target, but by constantly taking those risks, they keep the opposing goalkeeper in a state of absolute terror. Meanwhile, a timid average striker who lacks elite movement will only take a shot when they are completely unmarked, 5 yards out from an open net. They take 2 shots all game and score 1, therefore their shot conversion chart looks flawless. The data sheet claims they are highly efficient, but the reality on the pitch is that they are completely invisible. They are refusing to take risks to protect their personal percentages, therefore choking their team's offensive output. Judging a striker solely on conversion rate is a massive mistake, because it rewards players who hide from difficult chances while punishing the icons who hunt them. The charts we scan on our phones every single day are not objective, unbending truths. They are highly specific parameters that only tell a tiny fraction of the story. When data is stripped of its tactical context, it ceases to be a tool for analysis but becomes a weapon for deception. The greatest layers of footballing genius, the subtle block, the decoy run that creates space, the body feint that opens a passing lane, are completely invisible to the data code. The next time a casual fan tries to win a football argument by flashing a raw percentage chart on your timeline, look closer at the parameters. Show them this video, because as the history of the beautiful game has proven time and time again, the numbers don't just record the match, they are actively lying to your face. Which of these statistics do you think is the absolute worst culprit for ruining modern football debates? Drop your thoughts and tactical predictions in the comments below. And if you want to stay completely ahead of the algorithm with long-form, deeply researched sports documentaries every single week, make sure to hit that subscribe button to join the team here at Overcut FC right now. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next deep dive.